Frank ranks week 24. We have Marvel, we have DC, and we have Independence. But who is going to end up in that number one spot? Let's find out right now. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thank you so much for spending time with me as we rant about movies, comic books, and television shows, as well as the occasional board game. I'm your host, Frank Zanca. I'm an award-winning screenwriter, novelist, and comic book writer, as well as a filmmaker. And yeah, we're going to talk about these comics, and we're going to talk about 9 of them. There are going to be 9, so this is stuff that I've read this week. It has nothing to do with what actually got released this week, because I'm going to be melding some of the stuff that did come out this week with others. But this is going to give you a sampling of what's out for comics around the country, and what's good and what you should stay away from. And if you're just here to see what's Marvel and DC are releasing, then definitely stick around. All right, so let's start right back with number 9. And number 9 is going to be an independent book. And that is, and I read this digitally because I don't have the actual book, is going to be The Rockefellers, which I think is number 6. So this should be ending right now. How this is still continuing, I have no idea. Everybody says it's a lukewarm book, and nobody I know is reading it. Nobody I know is reading it. So I don't even know if it's even on the stands anymore. But this is by Ghost Machine, and it's a story of this family who came from the past, or from the future to the past, because they're hiding and they're doing experiments or whatever. They're scientists, and then they lost the grandmother on their way, so the grandfather is now all alone. He does a lot of running, because all the widows are all over the little biddies all over the thing. Now, how they even bought a house, I have no idea. But anyway, all the other neighbors are like running with him, and flirting with them, and it's just kind of, whatever. But they also have this eye, that's physically an eye shacked out of somebody's head, which we find out it's actually the villain's eye, and the bird took it, so it ended up in the bird nest, or whatever, the bird cage. And the daughter ends up seeing the forest. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, they start tracking whatever's going to happen. They're going to track it down. This one's all about the eye and whatever was connected to the eye and whatever was in the daughter's head that they had to, blast out, and he couldn't do it, so he had his dad do it, or I'm not sure if it's his dad or his father-in-law. But anyway, so really nothing happened. There was really no continue. It's all just silly, and I have no idea why this book is still around. So that's why it ends up in number 9. If this is a skip it for me, I just read it digitally. That's the only reason I read it. All right, so number 8 is a Marvel book, and we're going to turn into that way back machine. And if you've been watching my channel, you know exactly what title this is, and that is the Fantastic Four. I am continuing my John Byrne run, and this is number 265. Now, why is it so far down on the list? Because John Byrne is a really good writer and a really good artist. So these books from 1984 are very, very good, especially when you compare it to the Ryan North crap that's coming out today. My God, there's like no comparison. But anyway, this is the introduction of She-Hulk to the Fantastic Four, because Ben Grimm left after Secret Wars, and she took Ben Grimm's place as the heavy, as the muscle for the Fantastic Four. And this is the first issue that happens in number 265. What's interesting is that the Secret Wars ends up having after this issue. The first issue hadn't even come out yet. So we already see the repercussions before the thing even started, which is weird. But the reason this is kind of low down is because this is really just a filler issue. So, because of course, the reveal for She-Hulk doesn't happen till the end. So it's actually got 2 different stories in it. The first story is The Trapper, which is it's really well done. It's not much to it, but it's well done because it's told POV. So all of the panels are from his point of view. So he sees his own hands, he sees his own reflection, he sees his feet. At one time, he looks down and he's pulling like a cylinder out of his pants or whatever out of his belt, and it looks phallic. I'm just letting you know. But anyway, so that, and then of course he sees that nobody's even there, and the stuff is the security's starting to kick in, and he gets all the way down, and then he fights with the robot, Roberta, who is the secretary or whatever else when you're coming in the door. But yeah, the receptionist. There you go. She's the receptionist, and it's pretty funny. So he doesn't realize she's a robot. He's like, I'm going to take you as a hostage, and she just throws him across the room and calls the cops. And that is the first storyline. And then the second, and again, they tell that all in 10 pages. And then the second one, I thought that Sue's was pregnant in here, but I thought it was for Valeria. But I just started the next issue or whatever, next 2 issues down, because I don't have them all in order. And it's not. It's not Valeria, but I'll let you know when I do the review on that one. But anyway, so the Avengers, she ends up meeting the Avengers because Avengers disappeared, including Hawkeye. So she's trying to console Mockingbird because Mockingbird just got married to Hawkeye in this issue or in previous issue to this. And they're all kind of trying to console one another. And then all of a sudden there's a beam of light. They go to the beam of light, and they find that it's them coming back from Secret Wars, except Ben doesn't come back, and She-Hulk comes back with them, and she's got an FF logo on. Because, again, I think Secret Wars was 12 issues, so that was they're like a year gone, which would be weird. It has to be less than that, because he even says, you haven't given birth yet. So the time doesn't quite match, I guess, from one universe to the other. Okay, so now we're going to jump into number 7. And that is JSA number 9. This is by Jeff Lemire. And he's mostly a horror writer, so that's kind of interesting. But the story's been very stagnant. Of course, we're on issue 9, and we're on the same storyline. The same storyline. So he's another one that just has this thing go and go and go. We should have been done with this in Justice League or whatever it is. We should have been done with this battle already. So we have... The Obsidian is being infiltrated. I don't remember the guy's name. The guy, his face is like just a mask. There's no back to it either. There's no head. It's just a mask floating in there, which is interesting. But with this, the A plot of this one is the fight between Dr. Midnight and Vandal Savage's daughter. And they're in the snow, right? And she fights with her, but I guess they want her alive because she's got blades like Wolverine. So why Dr. Midnight's not dead, I have no idea. But for some reason, they need her alive, and she's dragging Obsidian's body, because his brain is not in his body right now. It's in some kind of a maze, which we go to during the issue. But anyway, she's dragging her across the snow, and Dr. Midnight wakes up, but she doesn't say she's waking up. And she's like, I'm just going to let her keep dragging me, and she's going to tire herself out, which is interesting. And then she gets back up, and then they fight, and she takes her out. And then she able to heartwire a communicator, and she communicates with the JSA headquarters and says, oh, look, I have Obsidian. And they're like, how's that possible? And they turn to the Obsidian that's there. And he's like, oh, you got me. But I have all the information I need, so I'm going to skedaddle, okay? So it's interesting. We finally got some progression. I'm hoping that, he's going to take this all the way to 12. If he goes beyond 12, he's just an idiot. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's go into number 6, and this is a debut issue of Marvel, and that is Captain America number 1. This is by Chip Zdarsky, fresh off of his really, really awful run with Batman. I dropped Batman a long time before his run was up. Everybody was so over his run, it's crazy. I think everybody applauded when he left. Of course, then we got the stupid Hush thing, and everybody was looking forward to that, and that was complete garbage. So Batman's still all over the place as far as I'm concerned. But we haven't seen a good Captain America comic for a long time. And I love Cap. I keep trying to collect him. But, the last one we had was, I think, J. Michael Straczynski, and that was awful. I think I got the first book, and I was off of that lickety split. And then we had, I forgot the two guys' names before that, and they're always bad. I mean, I can't read anything that they write. But anyway, so the Chip Zdarsky was on this, and he did a good job on, like, Daredevil, but he did a bad job on Batman. So now we're all wondering how he's going to do with Captain America. So I went into this kind of skeptical, but the beginning was great. We had this motorcycle chase with him blocking bullets on the shield on the motorcycle, and he ends up following this guy all the way to the UN. He's going to blow it up, and then he says, "Oh, I can tell that you're a veteran." And, "Oh, yeah, I'm a lieutenant." He says, "I'm a captain. I outrank you, so you're going to stand down." And the guy does, which is, it was interesting. But a lot of service people, I heard, did not like this issue. I heard that some of them returned it. Because for some reason, he just can't bring in a villain. He's got to make up his own shit and make up new people. Why, I don't know. So why writers do that when there's so much out there? You don't have to create something on issue 1. But he's mirroring Steve's origin with someone else. And it's a little guy, and he's in basic training. People are his fellow members of basic training are beating the shit out of him. And then his own sergeant beats the shit out of him. And I think that's where everybody was like, no, that would never happen in the military ever. It's showing the military in a bad light where it's not brotherly, and that's what got everybody's gall on that. And I can see that because I thought it was weird too. And I haven't never been in the military, but I thought it was weird. But anyway, he doesn't want to join the Avengers because Tony shows up and says, "Remember that our offer still stands." And he's like, "Now, this is going back in time to where he's just out of the frozen iceberg or whatever." So he's like, "No, I'm just going to go back to being a soldier and being back with the military." And Thunderbolt Ross is in there. He's going to give him his first assignment, that kind of thing. But then we find out that the guy that was getting the shit kicked out of him, I guess, got the super soldier serum. Now, why? And then we got Cap with this very bad design costume. I did ask Wes and the group today about if that was going to be his new suit, and they all said no on Thinking Critical. So they said it was just for the stealth mission. So hopefully we just see that suit for one issue and it's gone. If that continues to be his suit, I'm out. So hopefully I'm wrong on that. But this was an okay issue for Captain America. It was good because we've had such crap over the last decade. But yeah, it's not really good. The beginning was good, then it ended up being downhill. So let's see what happens. All right, so number 5. We have Another Way Back Machine. I read a bunch of them because I bought like 10 at the convention. Then that is another episode or issue of the Fantastic Four. This is number 256 because, again, this is the burn run, so it's all going to be in the 200s. But this is obviously back when so this takes place before the one previous, and this was with the Nihilists. So these guys are stuck, the Fantastic Four are stuck in the negative zone, and this is after Reed lost his brain. Okay, so his brain, not his brain itself, but I guess his psionic waves or whatever you want to call it, are inside this ship. So they created a helmet for him where he can, I think the ship did it actually because it just suddenly appeared, and he's controlling his body, but his brain is not in, his consciousness is not in his body. So anyway, they're trying to get back. They see like a negative zone version of the Baxter building. All this meteors start coming at them, and Thing ends up ripping a piece of the ship off. and like blocking all of the stuff coming at them, or else the meteor they're standing on or the asteroid they're standing on would break up. It's just a big rock. Meanwhile, Annihilus is in our world, and I didn't realize that he was actually humanoid. But anyway, he takes his helmet off, and he's like all burned or something like that. We really don't get to see it. A lot of it's in shadow. But anyway, he's torturing Alicia and Franklin. But anyway, they get back and they do something where it swaps them. So Annihilus ends up back in the negative zone, and the Fantastic Four end up back in our world. And then Thing finds out that Alicia is hurt, so they rush her to the hospital. And Captain Marvel is there. Not, of course, Carol Danvers, but the one that becomes Pulse, whatever her name was from the movie. She was the original Captain Marvel, the Monica Rambeau mom or whatever. But anyway, it's like it was a black Captain Marvel. I don't know if her name was Monica Rambeau, but I always liked that costume. It's all in white and there's like a black star on it, and yeah, I always liked that costume. I always thought that she looked pretty cool. But anyway, she's there, but I haven't seen her in years, so it was interesting to see that anyway. But it was a pretty good issue. All right, so number 5. Just a quick reminder that I am a writer. If you like to read anything that I've written, you can go to Amazon and just type my name in, or you can click the link in the description below and check out my 4-novel quadrilogy for the sci-fi series Destiny Aurora. It's also into a graphic novel, 150-page graphic novel. It was also on Audible. It was also made into a board game. Lots of fun. If you like sci-fi, you're going to love that. Also, my fantasy book, Tales of Ravenor, the Iron Witch. And on top of that, we have now launched our new comic on Kickstarter. It's in pre-launch right now, called Fairy Tales of Terror, where we have a psychotic Cinderella running around chopping people's throats. We have Captain Hook chopping people up with his hook, and he's got his own fire fairy. And from Neverland comes Tiger Lily. They're all running around New York, and Tiger Lily comes out of Peter Pan novel, and she is chasing them down to stop them from their evil plans. It's lots of fun. Anyway, definitely check that out. Go to the QR code here or click the link in the description below. We are approaching now 400 followers, and it's going to be awesome. All right, let's jump back into the ranking. Okay, number 4. I think the number is 381 or 318. I can't remember, but it's a G.I. Joe, number whatever, 300. By Larry Hama. This is the Real American Hero one. I still am not really loving that Storm Shadow is a good guy. But anyway, they're infiltrating a Cobra. It's not really a headquarters. It's where all of the people live that work for Cobra. So they're infiltrating that whole area, but they're pretending that they are living there or whatever, which is then they swapped with an actual couple that were living there that wanted to defect, which I think is a really good idea. But anyway, we don't get to see much of that. We just see the sewers where the stealth ninja guys are, and which is Storm Shadow and another version of Snake Eyes, a female version of Snake Eyes. And there's like zombie Cobra guys down there. So they're fighting those guys, and that's that storyline. Then you have CoverGirl, and I forgot who the other guy was, but they're infiltrating also where this computer thing is, and they're turning people into cyborgs that are all loyal to Cobra. But anyway, there was like a malfunctioning cyborg with like the head falls back or whatever. Anyway, CoverGirl decides that she's going to make believe she's her, and they infiltrate that, and the other guy gets into this robotic suit. But it's a whole infiltration thing. But not much otherwise happens, except for those. It's just a little bit progression in the story, and that's it. But otherwise, it was fun. I'm waiting to see what happens with it. Okay, number 3. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty now. So I can tell you there's no independents. The only independent I had, I think, was the Rocketfellas. So everything else has been Marvel and DC all the way through. And this is DC. I think I've read more Marvel because of the Fantastic Four stuff. But this is Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong 2, number 2. Oh my God. I'm surprised they have enough room on that cover for that amount of names. But anyway, this is continuing the story of Waller, who wanted to set up Task Force X to be able to combat Titans if they've ever come back. And she gets shot by Flag. I think it's Flag. But anyway, she gets shot by him. I think she's dead because we don't even find out in this. And I guess they're just walking over her body at this point. But I don't know if she comes. They got to bring her back. But well, it'll be interesting to see how they bring her back. Because I can't imagine they'd kill her off in this continuity. But anyway, he and Lex have a thing, and they're going to go out and like set a trap. So that's what they leave in the beginning. Meanwhile, the other Justice League guys are all on Skull Island with Kong. Kong does not recognize them from the previous story, which is upsetting Supergirl. And because she thought she had a bond with the gorilla, it didn't happen. She wasn't Fay Ray, I guess. But anyway, as they think that they're attacking, that Kong is attacking them, the Justice League, instead he ends up fighting what ends up being a mutated Killer Croc, who is as tall as Kong. And that's who's up here. I thought the design work on that. I thought originally that was Godzilla, but it's not. I like that design for a big Killer Croc. But anyway, Kong ends up beating the shit out of it, and before he can kill him, Supergirl and Superman push him out of the way, and Killer Croc reduces in size. But at the same time, the Legion of Doom or Task Force X or the Suicide Squad, they have 3 different names. I even say it on the page. But Pacemaker ends up shooting Flash. But thankfully he only gets grazed. Superman looks at does an x-ray of his skull and there's no fragment in there. Meanwhile, Flag and, if it is Flag, and Lex come up with their little shuttle and they lure Superman in and then they electrocute him with some kind of a kryptonite beam or whatever. So he's he's out of it for the most part. So Wonder Woman takes over the fight with the rest of the guys. Meanwhile, then Superman chases Lex into the core. They start to fight, and then, like the movie, all these Kong tribe come out, and that's where it ends. So I think Buccellado's doing a good job, man. It's fun. The last one was fun too, so I'll keep getting this. Anyway, that was number 3. So number 2, back to Marvel. Marvel's having a good week this week, I guess. Star Wars Jedi Knights. So this is issue 5, I believe. Yeah, by Guggenheim. And I like these kind of like one-offs. There's no progression of the story of the B story at this point, or the through-line story of the guy hunting Qui-Gon. We don't get any of that in here. But we get Yaddle and Cira and Count Dooku. And Yaddle and Cira end up... Well, we start out with Count Dooku basically killing Yaddle later on in the Star Wars timeline. But then it goes way back in time to where the Jedis are, doing the mediation and things of that. And they're doing a mediation with, the Trade Federation or whatever, and the Rhodians. But anyway, so the Rhodians are like, oh, you took our ship and it's impounded and, you stole our stuff. And they're like, yeah, because you didn't do this. And they're like, it doesn't matter. You can't do that. And the Jedi are like, well, yeah, but he shouldn't have done that. But you really got to live up to your side of the bargain, blah, 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 back and forth. So anyway, Yaddle decides that she's going to go onto the ship and see what's stolen. Like what was inside the ship. And they find like a whole bunch of weapons or something to that effect, stuff that shouldn't be there. And Dooku shows up and he ends up saying that he's working for them. But anyway, a big battle ends up breaking out with Wookiee bounty hunters, which I thought was interesting. So that battle takes place. But anyway, they end up being... We don't really get an end to the mediation, but that's kind of where it ends. It ends with the battle, being won, and I guess they're going to use that leverage to close everything up. They said, well, should we have something about Dooku, turning to the dark side or whatever else. But anyway, he's like, well, Yaddle was like, well, we'll see what time will tell kind of thing. All right, so number one, what's at the top of the list? What is it? What is number one? Number one is, again, Wayback Machine. Fantastic Four, number 262. And this is the trial of Reed Richards. Now, there's very little action in here. This is a lot of dialogue. A lot of dialogue. But I thought this was really, really interesting. I thought that Byrne did a really good job here. So we start out with John Byrne as a character. He's getting a call from Marvel saying, where is the next Fantastic Four book? And he's like, I really don't have a story yet, blah, blah, blah. It's funny. And then all of a sudden he gets a visit from the Watcher, who then takes him to, I guess, the Shi'ar throne world, where Reed is on trial for letting Galactus live, which I thought was really interesting. So he had the ability of killing him or letting him die or whatever, and instead saves him, which everybody is pissed off about because, the Skrull homeworld was destroyed because of Galactus. And so he's on trial for that. And the Watcher even brings in, so he breaks his rule for interference. So he breaks his rule and he brings in Odin. And Odin says, no, everything in nature has a use, and Galactus is no different. So he is part of the evolution scale. He is part of nature, and therefore he must live. Well, the Shi'ars are not having it. Lilandra's just not having it. And so they're like, we thought we were going to win when Odin was there because the other Fantastic Four members were all there. But then Galactus himself shows up. And they're like, holy shit. To talk on Reed's behalf. And that didn't go down. But the Watcher and Galactus decide to open a portal to have Eternity show up. So Eternity shows up through this portal, and I think it's him, speaks on Reed's behalf. And then instead of just speaking, he creates a link to the cosmic consciousness or whatever, and he shows everybody in the courtroom why Galactus is important. And they're all like, all right, we're good. See you later. But when John Byrne gets back, when he goes back to tell the story from the Watcher, he says, you're going to forget about Eternity. But he says, well, won't everybody forget about the fact that Reed was let off? And he goes, no, they just won't see everything that was shown by Eternity. So that was very interesting. So this is, if you had a chance to read this book, it's a lot of dialogue, man. Barely no action. But the book is really, really good. All right, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Remember, too, that Fairy Tales of Terror is up on Kickstarter. Definitely go there, and you can go to the QR code over here or the link in the description below. We're past 350 followers. We're going to be approaching 400 followers right now. I'm going to launch probably within the next couple of weeks. I'm hoping it's really, really good campaign. I'm really excited about this book. With a murderous Captain Hook. We have a psychotic Cinderella. They're all going around New York killing people. And Tiger Lily is trying to chase them down coming from Neverland. So it's good. It's lots of fun. Anyway, definitely check that out. And I will see you guys on the next episode. Hope you had a good July 4th weekend. And I'll see you on the next one.